Great. Fabulous. Thank you, Brooke. So welcome everybody to our latest webinar in a series that we've delivered from the newly diagnosed team this year. So this is our last one of the year. It's very exciting. And we're going to have a discussion all about research. Just before I get the panel to introduce themselves, I just want to say that we can't give individual advice to anybody. You must be guided by your own healthcare team, and it would be wrong of us to do any other. But we can, of course, reflect the experience of the panel and maybe give some hints and tips and how and where to go next. So without any more ado, I'll ask everyone to just introduce themselves. If you can say your name and what your connection to Parkinson's is. And can I start with you, Adrian?
Hi, I'm Adrian Wrigley. I live up in the northeast of England, just north of Middlesbrough. I've had Parkinson's formally diagnosed for 5 years, actually for about 10 years, and I'm very active in the research programs, take part as many as I can, and help run a local support group in the northeast as well.
Fabulous, thank you. And Julie, can I come to you?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Julie Jones. I'm a physiotherapist and I'm an associate professor at the School of Health and the Robert Gordon University. And I'm also the clinical therapy lead for the Excellence Network at Parkinson's UK as well. So lovely to see so many of you on the call tonight.
Thanks, Julie. And Winston.
Hi, everyone. I'm Winston, and I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's since 2022. Unlike Adrian, I sort of had symptoms since 2018. So my involvement with Parkinson's is more of a determination, really. And I just want to keep involved with myself with communities. And doesn't matter what challenge you may have, there's always something that we can do.
Oh, I think we must have lost Winston for a second. Hopefully he'll come back. Yes, always bringing the positivity. Thank you, Winston. And Claire.
Hi, everyone. My name's Claire. I'm the Associate Director of Research at Parkinson's UK, and I've worked at the charity for about 17 years now. So yeah, we're delighted to be here and really excited to talk about research for a whole hour.
Fabulous. Thanks, Claire. And I suppose I should introduce myself as well. I'm Linny. I also work at Parkinson's UK. I've been here for 10 years and I'm part of the newly diagnosed team. So let's get started in some questions. We do have a Q&A button. If anybody wants to ask a question, please do pop it in there and we'll do our best to come to all the questions. We have had some pre-submitted questions as well. So I thought we'd start by talking about research opportunities, and I'd come to you, Adrian, and if you could talk a little bit about what inspires you to get involved with research and how it feels for you.
Yeah, well, I started looking into the research as soon as I was formally diagnosed, partly because of my self-interest. Also, I've got a family history of Parkinson's, so that inspired me to initially start. But I mean, now I get very uplifted when I take part in the research, just speaking to the researchers and the passion they've got for in putting things in place to help us in the future and now. It's just inspiring, and I get really motivated just taking part in each research I do with these professionals like Julie and the likes. It's really beneficial for myself and the community.
Fabulous, yeah. So as well as doing something for others, it's helping with your well-being as well, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, it gives me a positive outlook and determination to not so much give in, but keep moving forward. And I mean, and we hope for a breakthrough, but also in light of that, I mean, future generations might benefit from what we're doing now. So that's an
amazing
aim of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And Winston, I know you talk a lot about connecting with others and community, and I think you recently went to the Parkinson's UK Research Conference as well. And How did you find that? Does it give you opportunities to connect with others?
Most definitely. The good thing about going to these conferences is the amount of people that you see there that they say to you, "Hey, is that Winston? I think I've met you before somewhere. How's it going?" And that's one of the things I like, because then it starts you off with a chat about your how you're doing. And the last conference, what I particularly liked was the layout. We had different booths we can go to, and everyone was so welcoming. The research booth that myself and Adrian went to, I thought that was quite well presented, offered opportunities. But also at the conference, you had a chance to meet with experts, ask questions that you may not have the opportunity to do maybe in a different environment, you know. And it's just one of those things that I wouldn't want to miss. Yeah.
Yeah, inspiring. I've been catching up with some of the sessions that were recorded, and they've all been amazing. So Julie, I wanted to ask you, as a clinician and a researcher yourself, you know, what does it mean to you to be able to receive money towards the studies that you are doing?
Well, that's a big question. I think it means a huge amount. A lot of the research that I do is really inspired by the Parkinson's community. So I do a lot of work with the local community, and a lot of the ideas that we take forward to research questions or to pose to a research panel are very much what people with Parkinson's feel is a key priority for them. And I think for me as a clinician, I think that's really important, to make sure that the research we are going to do is going to help change and help and improve how people are living with Parkinson's today. So a lot of my research is looking at interventional things that we could do to improve health and well-being today. And I think to me that's really, really important, because the research not only benefits people with Parkinson's, but I think finding out those robust findings about what works, but equally what doesn't work is really, really important, so we can help inform how we're delivering services in all the home nations, and also influence change in perhaps how we deliver things. And I think that's really, really important at all levels. So for me, it means a huge amount to think about moving forward our knowledge about what is best and how optimally to deliver services for the Parkinson's community.
Yeah, really good point about people with Parkinson's having an influence over the direction of research and things like that. Yeah. And Claire, I mean, we must have a process for giving money away. We do lots of fundraising. We're one of the biggest fundraisers, one of the biggest funders of research into Parkinson's in Europe. So how do we make decisions about those precious money that comes in? How do we decide which piece of vital research it goes to?
It's a big responsibility, and it's one that we share very much with the Parkinson's community. So I can't remember if, Adrian, you're a lay reviewer, but we have. Are you?
Yeah. No, I've spoken to quite a few of the lay reviewers. I'm aware of the lay reviews
Yeah.
process and stuff like that. Yeah.
So we have, you do so many volunteer roles. I'm not suggesting you should do that one as well. But we have a whole team of volunteers who live with Parkinson's, who we call our lay reviewers. So every application that we receive from a scientist looking for funding from Parkinson's UK is reviewed by a team of lay reviewers who are able to tell us, you know, does this matter to them as people living with Parkinson's? Do they think it's important? How would they prioritize it? Has the research been, has it been designed in a way that makes sense, that people with Parkinson's feel is appropriate, especially if it involves people taking part in that piece of research? So that feedback is incredibly important, and we weigh that feedback against feedback we also get the grant applications reviewed by experts in the field, who are independent of the researchers who are applying, and they comment on the scientific rigor, how important it is from a scientific perspective, and then we're able to combine the scores from those two groups, and they're equally weighted, so that the great science that really matters to people with Parkinson's rises to the top, and we fund the very best projects that meet the needs of the community. I think as a result of that, we fund a hugely diverse array of research. We fund everything from research that's trying to uncover and untangle the causes of Parkinson's, which are still not fully understood. Why is it that some people get Parkinson's while others don't? Right through to things like the work that Julie does, which is looking at like things like augmented reality. How can that be used to help people to do more exercise and do rehabilitation, and do it better and do it for longer, and stay motivated to do it well. So really applied things that can hopefully make a difference in a very short time frame, as well as the stuff that's a much longer term but has to be done if we're going to find that cure for Parkinson's. So we really fund the full spectrum. And you know, right now we have about, I think, 60 projects underway across the UK and beyond. And if you add up all those projects, they'd come to over £50 million. So it's a really phenomenal effort, you know, in terms of fundraising as well, that we're able to support as much research as we do.
Yeah, that's amazing, and really good point, which I'm sure we'll come back to, about, yes, we want to find a cure, but actually what we want is for people to have a good quality of life now. So both of those things are equally important. Yeah. And we had a question submitted, which I'm going to come to now, and then we'll have a look at the Q&A after that. And it was about, if you're looking for an opportunity to join a research project, how do you know it's safe, secure? How do you know it's genuine? Adrian, I know you do a lot of this. What do you, where are the places you look to find out about what research projects are available for you to get involved in?
Yeah, I mean, you've got your Parkinson's UK research website where you put in your address and it'll list activities that's near you, or the online activities, so you can use that as a tool. You can also register on the NHS Joint Parkinson's Research Programme. They ask a few more questions, and you might get focused emails and researchers actually reaching out to yourself to see whether you're interested in joining some of the programs. And then a lot of the information I get is from the regional community research programs. There's one in just about every area of the UK, I believe. I think the Parkinson UK local networks, if you do a research on that, it's got the full list. I know there's definitely one northeast, north west programs. They've all got their own individual ones, and that usually each year they have either webinars or in-person meetings where you meet the researchers. They tell them what's coming up, what they plan to do, and you can like face to face talk them what their aims and hopes are for the programs. So that's how I find a lot of my information.
Yeah, amazing, and good to know that those events are happening, I think, online and in person, you know, all over the UK, and I'm sure Julie will have been involved in some of those as well. And Winston, what about you? You're involved in some research projects as well, aren't you? How did you
Yes.
find yours?
But if I just sort of go back a bit there, it was my movement disorder specialist who first introduced me to get involved in research. And I just thought, well, if the top man is actually suggesting I join a research program, then that's not too bad at all. I started with PD Frontline. I'm pretty nosy. That's just me. I wanted facts. I wanted to know what's this thing all about? What's this research? And I went along, and it was amazing. I mean, the information you can gather from going on a research journey, especially if you're newly diagnosed, you can build those steps, because you can start with simple things in research. You don't have to do trials like I've done lately. You can start with simple things that maybe if you don't have to form a line, going to focus groups, having discussions, meeting people that look like me, or I'm looking for people who should look like me, which is a bit odd for me, I would have to say, because as a Black person with Parkinson's, there were not many people, and still not many people that I have seen, you know, with Parkinson's. And one of the things that I have been focusing on is those persons from the ethnic minority backgrounds who feel that they're underrepresented. Yeah. And my whole purpose is to get connected with those and let them see that, okay, I'm there. We want to make sure everyone is on the journey together. We don't want to make sure that some is, involved and others are not, because you don't want to miss it. And that's been my focus for months now, getting as many people as possible on the journey. And by me being involved with research, I can explain to them the things that I've gone through. But one of the best things for me with the research is when I get there, I always find someone that I'm never in a hurry. So I sort of slow things down and slow things down, have a chance to meet the clinicians, and then we get involved with it. So it's not a rush, it's a very smooth process. We have a good laugh, and as always, there's a tea and biscuits somewhere around that seems to do the trick all the time. I don't know why, but it seems to do the trick, And you find that you feel rewarding, empowerment is there for you, and that you've done something. For me, in my case, it may not be for me at my age, I'm 72 now, but it could be for my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and they can say, Granddad, he did something for me. He made sure that, like me and others, if it's not a cure, they have managed to slow the process down, slow the progression of this horrible disease. So yeah, that's my
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And I know, well, Julie, I'll come to you and ask you the question, just to continue that theme for a moment about why is it so important that people who take part in research are as diverse as possible. And then I see we've got a question from somebody very recently diagnosed. Are researchers really keen to engage with people newly diagnosed, and what's the reason for that? Sorry, I've loaded you with loads of questions, so I'll remind you what they are if you need me to.
The first question, which is about why do we need diversity, I think that's really, really important because Parkinson's holds no boundaries. So, it affects everybody in society, and it's really important that researchers are looking at having a diverse population, because we also know that Parkinson's is slightly different in different populations. So, and Winston's absolutely right. There's a number of communities which are underrepresented in research, and so therefore what might be effective for one group may have a slightly different outcome in another. So we need to look at that. So, and what researchers need is they need large sample sizes. And in order for us to be able to say that the data is generalizable to the general population, we need to make sure that we're including people from a wide population. But also, it's not just in terms of, it's also thinking about culture and spirituality. We also know that different people perhaps are more open to some interventions than others. And so that's really, really important that, as Claire's already mentioned, they've got Parkinson's UK have a broad portfolio of research. And I think that's really, really important, so that we're looking and exploring what interventions to ensure that there's probably something out there for everybody that is something that they could participate in. So a broad sample is really, really important, so we develop a better understanding of Parkinson's in the population that we have here in the UK and contribute to our understanding globally. So absolutely, that would be my thought. In regard to the gentleman who's put a post on, I mean, a huge welcome to you. Being diagnosed in the last 4 weeks and you found yourself on this podcast, I think that's a really, really positive start. And I think there's lots of things. Adrian has mentioned the research interest groups. And I think, I understand at this stage you do possibly feel numb. I completely understand that. But there's lots of ways you can engage either online or face-to-face. But we are really interested to hear from people who are newly diagnosed, because actually we want to know what your experience of being diagnosed. How does that affect you throughout your condition and your trajectory of your condition? So we're really, Parkinson's UK, I would definitely say, is interested in recruiting people at all stages of the condition. So you're most welcome to the research family, and I hope for you it's a positive experience, because like Adrian said, I think a number of people who participate in research benefit not only from learning about the research, but also you meet a community of people who are also motivated and enthusiastic. And I think it gives a really nice safe space to learn from other people in the Parkinson's community, and that shared learning, camaraderie. And I think at that point of diagnosis, these are really, really important support skills. So not only do you get the great care that comes with research, you also get a whole community access. So very welcome, Francis, and I wish you well.
Thanks, Julie. And just before I come to you, Claire, just to somebody's asked, there's a sort of a couple of things there about asking about being involved in research. What type of different projects would you need to take drugs and things like that? So if you, I'll come to you about that in a moment, Claire. But just want to do a shameless plug for our newly diagnosed services at Parkinson's UK. So we have lots of information. We have sessions where you can meet with peers, people a bit like you. So do have a look at our newly diagnosed page. We've got a few more sessions left, and then we'll be having a break over December, and we'll come back in January. So if there isn't something immediately available, we do have a self-learning option, which is a kind of a little course you can work through, pulling some resources together. So do have a look, and we have, just drop us a line if you need to. So Claire, I wanted to come to you about sort of the different types of studies we might be funding and different ways people could get involved in those.
Sure. So great that so many people are so keen to take part, and I echo everything that all the other speakers have said. Parkinson's UK, we want to make it as easy as possible for people to take part in research. To Winston's point, we want everyone to have the opportunity to take part because there are so many benefits for the individual and for everyone in the community. So I think the number one thing I would suggest people do who are interested, whatever stage they're at with their Parkinson's, is to join our research support network. So this is completely free. It's an email network. You can sign up on our website, and I'm sure Linny and the team will put it in the email that comes out after this webinar. And if you sign up, it just means that my team will send you emails about 2 to 3 a month, probably, letting you know about what's going on in research and the latest opportunities to take part in research wherever you are. So we do collect your postcode so that we can send you things that are going to be more likely to be relevant to you. And that's just a really great way to start dipping your toe and to start seeing the breadth of things that are available, because as Winston said, it ranges hugely from completing a survey, so not interventional. You're not actually taking a new drug or trying a new therapy or anything like that. You're just sharing your experience and how the condition affects you with researchers, and that is hugely valuable. It could involve having samples taken, so maybe a blood sample, so researchers can do genetic analysis, for example, maybe having a brain scan. Things like that also help us build our knowledge of the condition. There are also interventional studies, so they also range widely from trials where you might be taking a pill, an additional pill to the ones you're already taking if you're taking Parkinson's medication. If you take part in a study that involves taking a new drug, those are very, very carefully managed to make sure that safety is the number one thing. So I know some people have concerns about that, but and my team is always really happy as well to be contacted if you have any questions about a piece of research or an opportunity you've seen and you're not sure, and you want to talk to someone about it. We're here to talk about those things and make sure they're as clear as they can be. Also, research teams should be really able to talk you through any concerns you might have. But interventional research is not all just about drugs or new pills. It's also about things like the work that Julie and others do, which is about lifestyle changes or new devices that might be effective for Parkinson's. How do we best do speech and language therapy, for example? We're actually funding a project at the moment which is looking to develop a sort of game to help people improve their facial expression with the condition. So there is such a broad range of things to be involved in, and there's no rush to say yes to the first thing you see. Have a browse. We also have all the studies that we know of that are looking for participants are on our Take Part hub on our website, which Adrian mentioned. You can put your postcode in and just see what's going on. Many things you can take part in from home. You don't need to go anywhere, don't need to visit a hospital. And that's a really really great thing to just start having a little look, seeing what's out there. If you have questions, please come to us because we'd love to hear what those are and try our best to answer them. But yeah, that's what I would say. And I think one of the pre-submitted questions was about how do you know if a piece of research is is proper, because there's lots of stuff flying around on social media these days, and it can be hard to sort the good from the not so good. So I think, again, if you see something you're not sure about it, come to us and we can investigate for you. Hopefully we'll already know about it and we can say, yeah, this is absolutely fine. Whenever we promote a piece of research, we do all the checks to make sure it has been, it's a proper piece of research, it's been ethically approved. They do things like pay expenses if you need to travel anywhere. You should never be out of pocket if you take part in research. So yeah, come to us is my main message if you have any questions, and we would be delighted to support you in any way we can.
Thanks, Claire. And it just reminded me of something Adrian said earlier on as well about that being diagnosed and straight away thinking, actually, research is something that I want to get involved with. Can we dig a little bit deeper on that, Adrian? How has it really enhanced things for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at some of the questions there. I mean, in the thing, there's not all the research is drug related. I mean, 90% of the research programs I've been about walking, speech therapy. I mean, the speech therapy programs I've been involved in has really helped me. I mean, I'm able to talk quite clearly here tonight, purely probably because of the speech therapy and like learning to use it or lose it scenarios, and again with the walking. So there is a lot of activities non-drug related to help slow the progression, if in effect, of the Parkinson's. So there's lots to get involved in, and there's there was a gentleman asked, he's just recently diagnosed, if you just want to dip your toes in, there's like online questionnaires or interviews from PhD students who are looking at development programs for newly diagnosed, etc. and that. So you can just dip your toes in and ease your way into the research program. So there's lots of different opportunities. But
Yeah, that's great.
There's a lot of benefits.
Yeah. And have you found the same, Winston, that because you must get time one-to-one with clinicians and things like that when you're taking part in research? Is that of interest?
Yes, it's a funny thing here with me that where I live, I have it's a very small village, and I've been fortunate to have a good connection with the clinical staff, and I think Adrian mentioned speech therapists. I'm having a session tomorrow, finishing off the process there with that. But when I went to my first group session, it took a little while because, as I said, no one looked like me. I couldn't find them. So I sort of kept myself at home. But then once I sort of accepted it, I went in there, it was like, shaking or not, here I am, And yes, but the people were so welcoming. And it was amazing that what I was going through, persons they were going through the same way. And we had persons from Parkinson's UK, a brilliant organization. It has helped me so much, Parkinson's UK, in my journey. And we had, I think, 3 persons there coming to talk about research. And I sort of like, hang on, I can do this, I can do this. And I went along with it. And when I got there, I remember the head of one of the research programs came to me and said, "You're Winston, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. And we can do it together." And, they kept me in check. They monitored my health. That's a good thing about it too. They made sure that everything was in check with me. You may have other illnesses, other conditions, I should say, that will need monitoring. Claire mentioned drawing of blood. I've had several of those. I just finished having my 4th or 5th MRI scan, PET scans. And people say, "But why are you doing it, Winston?" It's because you need to make sure that we're there, we're in with a shout. We may not get this thing cured, but we can slow the progression down. We can make others feel, I call it believing better. Better treatment. better understanding the way certain people speak, the language. Okay? Because people be afraid, stigma, might not wanting to come out and get involved in research. There's so many factors there, but we need to make sure that someone is there leading, and I call it holding hands. Let you see, look, we can do this together. It's not about A or B, it's about everyone being involved in this journey here. And we're going to make it. Hope.
I feel like that's such a
Believe in
positive
hope.
message. Yeah, hope, exactly,
Yeah.
hope. That's amazing. And I want to also mention quickly that we at Parkinson's UK, we do have a network, and it's specifically for Black, Asian, Arab and mixed heritage people. So we call it the network. You can find it on our website, and we have regular online meetings where people can connect and hopefully find someone else who is like you. So just to mention that.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so pleased.
Yeah.
I'm so pleased to hear that. So somebody has mentioned there about side effects and things, and taking part in research. I think we've probably talked about that. Is PD common in Indian and Asian communities? I don't know if either Julie or Claire might want to. Yeah, Claire, go for it.
I can answer that. It's a very timely question because we just recently did the biggest ever study of Parkinson's in the UK using healthcare records, so records collected by GPs primarily, to look at exactly this question, like who in the UK, how many people have Parkinson's and who has it? Is there differences between ethnicities or parts of the UK, that kind of thing? And interestingly, we did find differences between different ethnicities. So for Chinese, Black, and Asian, I think Asian Indian. Oh, no, actually, so Chinese and Black ethnicities were less likely to have been diagnosed with Parkinson's than white British people. But Asian Pakistani were more likely to be diagnosed than white British, and I think Asian Indian was about the same. So we do not understand why there are these differences. And I think one of the important things to point out is this is just people who have have had a diagnosis of Parkinson's that we studied. We anticipate there are going to be people out there, and possibly there are barriers to getting that diagnosis, bigger barriers in some communities than others. And that might be part of the reason why. But there may also be biological reasons why, differences in genetic makeup, differences in other biology. We know women are less likely to get Parkinson's than men for biological reasons. So we need to, and this is another reason why we need more research that looks at these issues, and just to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to take part, so we can understand Parkinson's in everyone, not just in a small slice of the Parkinson's community. So it's a really good question.
Yeah, sorry, I was just looking at the questions at the same time. Just before I have a look at the next question, I just wanted to come to Julie. So one of the other questions in there is about the main thrusts of current research. I wonder if you could tell us what you're working on at the moment, Julie.
Lots of different projects at the moment, which is really exciting. So the one most recently that I've had funded by Parkinson's UK is looking at the use of augmented reality. So these are the glasses that people wear, and what that allows them to see is an environment within their visual field that we can program through software to have certain activities which they can participate. So one of the easiest one to describe is a ball will appear in front of your basketball, and you need to squat down, pick up that ball, and then shoot it into the net. And there's a variety of different games within the augmented reality package that we're exploring. And one of the advantages of using augmented reality is we're very mindful in the United Kingdom that actually people often struggle to get access to specialist rehabilitation services. And that could be geographically, they live in remote and rural communities, or the fact that there isn't a specialist service nearby. So potentially one of the advantages of this particular approach to rehabilitation, it means that specialist rehabilitation and the software and the games have been designed specifically to target walking and balance in Parkinson's, may mean that people could access that service. The other thing that we're wanting to look at is is who benefits most from this particular approach. And I think that's really important. There's so much technology in the health field coming out at the moment, which is all promising many great things. But actually what we need to look at, who benefits most, and how often do they need to use it in order to get a benefit, if it causes a benefit at all. So, and I think that will be really important, and that's one of the key, these are the key factors that we're looking at. So we'll be collecting lots of numerical data, looking at people, measuring them before they use the glasses, after they have the glasses, but also what happens when they stop wearing the glasses. Do they continue to get a benefit if they had a benefit in the first place? So we'll be collecting lots of data over the period of the study. But also what's really important is that we're going to speak with people who participated in the study afterwards to see what their views are and how they found it, whether they found it beneficial, did they struggle to use the particular device, and did they see any challenges? Because one thing with research, it's also really important. I really strongly feel we have to have that sort of qualitative element where we're speaking to people with Parkinson's, because we could, as researchers, find an amazing device that has a huge positive impact, but everybody hates using it. And in which case compliance longer term is going to be really poor. But we also need to make sure it's enjoyable and something that they can engage in. So it's a mixed method study. In fact, we'll be collecting numerical data and asking people's perceptions, views and opinions of the augmented reality glasses. And we'll also be able to check out whether people are doing their exercise as well, so with the augmented reality devices. And I think that will also be really useful, because actually that's really helpful for behavioural change from that perspective. If Winston knows, for example, that I'm going to be checking up that he's been doing his exercise program, he's more likely to engage in it. So from that perspective, it's got some really good psychological strategies built into it. So that's one of the projects I'm involved in. So really, from that perspective, it's looking at an approach to rehabilitation that people could do in their own homes, which is really important at the moment, thinking about where we're all placed.
Yeah, there's just so much that goes into thinking about how these projects are planned and all of the ripple effects that you need to think about coming out, and then ultimately, I guess, some real practical tips for therapists to use, if you know, the things like following up and how people are supported in their journey. We're getting lots of stuff in the chat. So one thing I wanted to just touch on. Oh, by the way, Brooke has shared a link there to the research page on the Parkinson's UK website that Claire mentioned, where you can sign up to the research newsletter and things. So just to mention that. So we're talking about exercise. Ramesh there has put something in about exercise, and I think this is very close to your heart, Adrian. Do you want to have a go at that one?
Yeah, I mean, I do exercise just about every day of the week. Been a bit slow recently after damaging my ankle, but that's another matter. That was my own fault going into a tackle. But I do walking, football, pickleball, things, and I definitely notice a difference in my balance, and motion is a lot smoother from since I started doing the exercises on a more regular basis. I'm certainly I'm more smoother walking, and so yeah, it's definitely helped me beneficial both physically and mentally. I mean, just being mentally active and in a group environment, it makes a massive difference to me. So yeah, I mean that if you can get along to any of the exercise sessions in a mixed environment, just the communication's brilliant for you, and the motivation to keep going is great.
Yeah, and we know that exercise is hugely important. I mean, it's important for everyone, but we know it's really important in Parkinson's. And that's a big message that we, as a charity, have spent a long time actually really pushing and making sure we push it with clinicians and neurologists and things like that to make sure that people are getting the best advice about being as active as they can. So we've got tons of information on our website. We've got a whole page dedicated to physical activity. We've got from like groups like Adrian runs in the Northeast. Local groups will often run classes specifically for people with Parkinson's, but if you don't fancy that, then we've got home videos. We've got some agreements with local gyms as well, where you can get reduced gym membership, and then you can go to a class, not necessarily with other people with Parkinson's, but just generally. So yeah, tons, really, really important. Winston, are you an exercise gym bunny? What do you do to keep well?
Walking,
Mhm.
will not make your Parkinson's worse. Walk, just keep moving. You don't have to go quickly, just keep moving. So here we've got a good setup to the council, and I would go walking on Tuesday morning, 10 to 10:30. Others may be in front of me, with me, or behind me, but I'm walking. And it is amazing how you feel afterwards. Because on that journey, I'm talking about the things that I'm involved with, the community groups, the research projects, and people will get connected. Then you sit down and you talk about it, or sometimes we don't talk about Parkinson's at all. Take that person's mind away from that and talk about other things that we get involved with. We've involved now with swimming. And that's something that we started recently. And it was quite slow in taking off. But as the news got around, it has improved. And we have quite a good subscription going there for that now.
Yeah,
Other things we
fabulous.
do. I'm also happy to say that I was involved in the hospital side of things too, with the activities that they were offering. You know, sometimes I look stupid, but what's looking stupid? We all look stupid. We all do dumb things. But the fact remains is, do not let that keep you back. Keep moving. Keep
Yeah.
moving, not just the upper part of your body, but also the lower part of your body, because it is a complete process there. And you find that you can feel so much better. It doesn't mean you don't have Parkinson's. It just means that you're doing things to make you feel good, believing better.
Absolutely, yeah. Yes. So be as active as you can. If you are concerned in any way, then chat to your GP, your consultant, specialist nurse, or ask for a physiotherapist referral to make sure you're exercising safely. And I was going to come to you, Julie, in case you wanted to add anything there. But also, there is a question in here about neurological pathways. So somebody's talking about, for example, you might be able to run but not walk. And I always remember the story that Michael J. Fox talked about in his autobiography, where he said he struggled to walk, but when he got on an ice skating rink, he could skate and you wouldn't know he had Parkinson's. And so I don't know if you've got anything to comment about on that as well.
Good question, and I don't want to take the rest of the time talking about neurological pathways. And best thing that I could say, and in short as a way as I can, yes, that does happen. Some people do find running or a different task different, and what that really means is, and why that happens is, you're using different parts of your brain to control that movement. And that's why some people feel that they can run, but they can't necessarily always walk with a good quality gait pattern, with a symmetrical gait pattern. And it is literally just that you're using different neural pathways in your brain, and that's why you see that particular difference. But that's a whole good question. I could do a 2-hour session for my undergraduate, postgraduate students. So that's my short bit. I think the other thing that I see there's a question in the chat, Linny, about what is a neurophysiotherapist and what's a physiotherapist. So physiotherapists treat everybody from the smallest in society, so from young children right through to the oldest and wisest in society, and all steps in between. So you'll find physiotherapists in intensive care, you'll find them on a football pitch, you'll find them in a maternity unit. They're everywhere. And so if you see a neurological physio, they've had additional training and have chosen to specialize in neurological conditions. So they may treat people with Parkinson's, MS, and stroke. People who are just a physiotherapist have a general skill palette where they're capable and competent to treat people with Parkinson's, but they may also treat a whole variety of conditions. So what you might find is they may not have the same level of knowledge and experience, because they maybe only treat a handful of people with Parkinson's in a year, because they don't come across them very often. But in terms of that, everybody has undergone some training. It's just how much specialty training that they've undergone, and for what's their currency, or how much knowledge they have on a particular condition. So all of them are competent physios. It just depends on the specialist training that they've followed after they've registered as a physio.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. That's great. I noticed there was just one other part to the question about exercise, which was talking about other diseases influencing or perhaps even being a cause in some way for Parkinson's disease. Do you think you could talk to that, Claire?
Yes, it is a very good question. I don't think I have a very good answer. Um, we know that people with research has shown that people who have diabetes, particularly type 2 diabetes, may be more likely to get Parkinson's. Um, but but that's not, it's a little. There's also conflicting research in that space as well. So it's not a very clear link between diabetes and Parkinson's, but there is potentially something there. And interestingly, there are trials that have been looking at whether diabetes medication might be beneficial for people with Parkinson's and has shown some signs it might be helpful, but also there have been some disappointing results as well. So it's still a very open question. More recently, that I saw some research this year which linked something called metabolic syndrome, which I had not heard of before, but it's essentially almost like all the risk factors for developing things like diabetes. So, body mass index, things like that, high blood pressure, so on. Um, People with that syndrome, so those risk factors being more likely to get Parkinson's. But there needs to be much more research, I think, into the interplay between different conditions and how they might impact on your risk of developing Parkinson's. But at this moment in time, we don't have a really clear answer to that question.
People are asking hard questions this evening.
Yes, it's very good.
But
Putting us through our paces.
I know, giving us lots of inspiration to keep going with our research, and we can see how important it is to everybody who's here. I wanted to quickly just ask, I don't know if either Winston or Adrian or maybe Julie would know about sort of family members of people with Parkinson's. And we've talked a lot about people living with Parkinson's being involved in research. But I think there are opportunities for family members and things like that to be involved, and that they can also really benefit in the way that Winston and Adrian have talked about, kind of like getting a little bit of a health check and things like that. If does anybody want to chip in on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely research programs look at families across the board, and people with not just family members, just friends, because they're looking for non-Parkinson's participants to get a good overview of the research programs. Plus, a lot of research programs is looking at carers and partners for their point of views of looking after people, what their needs are, and stuff like that. So, quite a few people don't like the term carers. My carer is my chief motivator, or the wife, the boss. But yeah, I mean, she's filled in studies and stuff like that. So there's opportunities for across the board for people to get involved in the research programs.
Yeah, thank you. I thought that definitely was the case. We've got loads of questions coming in, and I do want to touch on like the latest big news things in just a moment. But somebody does ask more questions, I think, that maybe come back to that data, Claire. Is it becoming more prevalent in younger people? Is early onset, is there more of that now? And there was something else. I think the next one I probably will come to Julie for about the scan. So are there more young people getting Parkinson's?
It's such a good question. In the study that we recently did, I don't think there is, but I agree. It's not clear that there's more people. It's definitely still a condition that more often affects people who are older, over the age of 60. But a significant number of people are diagnosed before the age of 60, 50, even 40. This is a really important population, and they deal with the condition for much longer because they live with it for a much longer time and face various different important challenges, whether that's working with Parkinson's, raising a family, you know, it's a different set of challenges to if if your children are grown up and left home and you've stopped working. So I think it's a really important population that we need to do more research into. But certainly we hopefully are getting better at spotting it earlier as well, because I think a lot of people, and it still happens unfortunately, if you are younger, it's not something that the GP is going to think, oh, this could be Parkinson's, and make the referral. So that is a big challenge. And I think it's still probably under-recognized, and potentially under-recognized more so in women, because again, the perception is that it tends to be something that affects older people and older men. So still more work to do there in terms of awareness.
Yeah, thank you. And somebody asked a question about DAT scans and MRI, I presume that is. Can they be inaccurate? Julie, do you know the answer to that? Or
I'm not sure I would use the word inaccurate, but maybe trying to think about what they're used for. And one of the challenges in Parkinson's is there's not a diagnostic test. So with multiple sclerosis, we can take a sample of the fluid that surrounds your spinal cord. So quite often when so we have a sort of clinical diagnosis. So we take lots of different information, which creates a picture. And so often people have an MR scan or a CT scan, and that isn't used to suggest you have Parkinson's. It's perhaps used to rule out any other conditions which may be causing some of the symptoms that you are presenting with. So it's more to rule out other conditions and see whether people, if there's perhaps if they've had a stroke or something like that may cause those same symptoms. A DAT scan is a special type of scan where they inject a particular radioisotope into the brain, and what that looks at is as a way for us to measure how much dopamine you have, or dopaminergic neurons that you have within your brain. And again, that is used as part of the consultant's decision making to look more widely about whether it's looking more likely that you have Parkinson's. But there's often a variety of different tools that they take in to make that diagnosis. Claire probably knows a lot more about DAT scans than I. Would you have any more to add to that, Claire?
No, I think you covered it perfectly, Julie.
Thank you. I think that's really helpful to know, I think. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody's talking about learning to play the piano or playing golf. I think all that stuff's got to be good, hasn't it, Julie? New skills?
I think new skills is really, really important. And I think while we've talked a lot about the benefits of exercise, and I'm right behind Adrian, and he's a fantastic, and Winston, fantastic champions for exercise, I think it's really important that people engage in things that they make them happy. And actually being creative and doing music as a form of mindfulness is very calming for people. And often when they feel a little bit tight with the rigidity, I think music can be really calming. And I think it's about health and well-being. And I think if that works for you, then please go ahead. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, great. Can you request another opinion with a different consultant? You want to have a go at that, Claire?
I think that probably falls into not really a research question. I think you can. I think you can and you should. If you're not, if you're not happy or satisfied with your healthcare professional, I would certainly encourage people to seek an alternative. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm an expert on that, so it might be something worth asking, like maybe ringing the helpline to talk about. Get some
I was
guidance
just going to
there.
suggest that. Yeah, unless Adrian or Winston have experienced that, I would say contact our helpline. Go on, Adrian. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard people going back and getting second opinions. It can be difficult, and depending where you live, on how many neurologists available, and so it's not unknown, but it can be difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. It will depend, unfortunately, a little bit where you are, which is a whole nother question. So we've just got about 5 minutes left. And I was on our research page, we have a little bit that's all about latest news and blogs about research. And I saw that there was something called HER, I quite like that, 096, a really promising new trial, is it, or piece of research? Would you be able to tell us a little bit about that, Claire, to finish on a high?
Yes, absolutely. So we fund, as part of the work that we do at the charity, we fund trials of new promising therapies, and one of them that we're funding at the moment is this treatment called HER96, which is not very catchy. But what it's trying to do is mimic the effect of chemicals that we have in our brains that occur naturally. These are called growth factors, and I like to think of them a bit like fertilizers for our brain cells. So they help our brain cells to survive and grow and develop and make new connections, all the good things that we want our brain cells to do, but they struggle to do in Parkinson's. And there's been research over many, many years showing that these lovely growth factors are reduced in Parkinson's, and if we squirt them onto brain cells in a dish that have Parkinson's, they get better and they work better. But we've struggled for a long time to find ways to get increased levels of growth factors inside the brain, and this HER96 is a treatment that's trying to do something very similar to that. And it's very clever because instead of getting it directly into the brain by injecting it, which is very invasive, it's a treatment that can be injected into the bloodstream and then travel to the brain, which is a very technically difficult thing to get a drug to do. And a very small trial has been carried out in Finland and has shown that this treatment is safe, with funding from Parkinson's UK. So the next step for that therapy will be another larger trial where we'll be looking at the treatment in a bigger group of people and looking to see not only is it safe, but does it actually have the impact we hope it will on brain cells, and actually start to see them potentially recovering in some way from the damage they're experiencing in Parkinson's. So it is very exciting, but it's still quite early days. I did just want to mention one thing I saw in some of the pre-questions. I think someone asked some questions about pain research. And Julie might want to chip in here as well, but I think this is such an important question, and so I'm really glad it was asked, because pain is a huge problem in Parkinson's. Many people will experience pain, but it's not talked about enough, and it's definitely not researched enough. We have funded research into pain in the past, a number of projects, and we're still in the foothills really of our knowledge of pain in Parkinson's. It's very complex. Some pain seems to be the result of things like the symptoms of Parkinson's, so having rigid muscles, stiff joints, dystonia, so cramping in the muscles. That can be really painful and can make people bend into uncomfortable shapes. So that's pain that's caused by the symptoms of the condition. But we think there's also pain that is just caused by the changes inside the brain, and that's much more complicated and poorly understood. So we definitely need more research into pain and to develop better ways to manage it. But Julie might have some thoughts. I don't know. I mean, I think things like exercise, physical therapy, particularly for those ones that are caused by symptoms, is probably really important. And in some cases, people need to take medication for pain because it's such a big burden to carry. So I just wanted to mention that.
Oh, thank you for that, Claire. And yes, I've been privileged to be involved in some research that's been headed up by Dr. Jenny Naseby, who is based at the University of Northumbria. And as part of us as a group of researchers, we've been looking at pain. And actually, we've been doing a bit of a scoping exercise. What is actually out there, looking at interventions that address pain that isn't medication? Because obviously many people with Parkinson's feel that they take enough medication as it is. And actually, we're just in the throes of pulling that data all together. But what we found is there's very few studies which have looked at interventions such as exercise on pain. We've also seen that it's very difficult to draw conclusions from the research because in many of these studies, they've all used different tools to measure pain. And many people didn't assess pain at baseline. It was only when people entered the study. So there's some methodological flaws in how that research is done. It's also demonstrated that there's not a standardized approach or a standardized way of measuring. And there's actually very few interventions that have actually been explored from a pain perception. So I think it's really insightful that a member of the community has raised that, but it is definitely there as a key highlight that we need to explore, because when we look at the prevalence and incidence, it's nearly up to 80% of people report that they have pain at some point. So it's clearly a key issue. And I think, as Claire said, it's quite complicated, because I think the reason why people get pain, or the mechanisms behind that pain, vary hugely. It might not just be associated with Parkinson's, it could be other things at the same time, and that's what makes it a really challenging area to research. But you're onto something there, and we are onto it too.
Interesting. Yeah, so work to be done. So I'm going to draw the webinar to a close, and I just want to say that I mean, almost everybody who's newly diagnosed and more advanced with Parkinson's, I hear a lot that if you are newly diagnosed, and I know there are some people on the call tonight who are very newly diagnosed, your journey will be yours and it's unique to you. And you might read about symptoms and things like that. Doesn't necessarily mean you are going to get that symptom, doesn't necessarily mean you will get that particular combination of symptoms. So your journey is very much yours, and there definitely are things you can do to support your well-being. As we've talked about tonight, physical activity, really important, hobbies and interests and leisure, things like that, also really, really important, that genuinely do have an impact on your well-being. And if you're interested in joining research, please do explore that. It can feel really, really rewarding, I think, to be involved in it and to be helping others as well as helping yourself. Thank you so much to the panel for coming along tonight, giving the time and being willing to share your experiences. Especially Winston and Adrian sharing. That's really, really powerful. And thank you to everybody who's asked questions and been so engaged with the webinar. It's just shown us how important research is and how much interest there is in it. So a huge thank you to everybody. We will end the meeting now, I think, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks, Linny. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.